Okay. I was guided to reread the Song of Prayer, which was an addendum after the text came through. Oh, and the manual for teachers and all of that came through. They asked for some specific information on prayer, and it was fascinating to just kind of put some fresh thoughts around prayer into my mind. And the first one that I wanted to share with everybody was all thoughts are prayers. Let's let that sink in. I mean, for me, what was there was, oh my God, what a mess. Because most of my thoughts in this incarnation, this horizontal incarnation, have not been very powerful. And so I think of the nonsense that I've sent up to prayer to God. And if you remember, it truly labels us. Jesus says we're just communication devices. And then you put this in perspective of all thoughts are prayers. Wow. You can see that there may be some cleaning up that's necessary. Because, it's like if you were to walking up to God, just say you're walking up to God and you look at God and you go, God, I've got this little dry patch of skin on my arm. I mean, that's just silly. Why would you waste God's time? Because God has nothing to do with that. But that's what most of my thoughts have been my whole life. About fear. There have been fear thoughts about survival and getting by and, just making it and, trying to be as comfortable as possible and to suffer as little as possible. Those have been what my thoughts have been about. So now that I'm finally attempting to step into my true function as a true communication device, I was guided to read the Song of Prayer, and then putting that with my body is only for a communication device. All thoughts are prayers. And then the very first sentence of the Song of Prayer. Prayer is the greatest gift with which God blessed his Son at his creation. Okay, so we separated. We had that tiny mad idea. Well, I think we could do better than what they're doing now. Now let's try this. Let's get incarnated and let's have a go at making it a better world. And then prayer is the greatest gift that God created us just after we separated. And then to see, in the parable of Calico, my idea of prayer, which is there's a ladder of prayer, and it's the lowest form of prayer, which is what I spent most of my life doing, the lowest form of prayer, which is I have a need and I need to be fixed, or that need needs to be given to me. That's the lowest form of prayer. And that's what I've spent most of my life praying, I don't have enough money, I pray for more money. I don't have the perfect relationship, I pray for the perfect, don't have the perfect house, I pray for the perfect house. It just is ad nauseum into eternity of this lowest form of prayer. And then you can at least get to the point where you can see your projection. And in the Song of Prayer, this is even considered still one of the lower forms of prayer. Not there are levels of anything. If you can see this more as circular, it really is circular, because it's like, we get a handle on one thing and then something else jumps up and we have to deal with that. And so it's really kind of a circular thing. But still, in the lowest form of prayer, it is, let me see, I wrote some notes for myself that were quite helpful. Okay, lowest form of prayer. We ask out of need or fear. On the lower levels of prayer, we are praying for what we think we lack. We are still asking for things out of this world. And then as we move through the lower forms of prayer, we actually get to some higher lower forms of prayer, which is to ask for honesty and integrity and willingness. Now, those are still considered by the Song of Prayer as lower forms of prayer, but that's an improvement. You're no longer going for, I need a new car. God, get me a new car. Instead, we're going for, God, grant me the willingness to see that perhaps I don't need a new car. Okay. There's three, I mean, I hate levels because it gets us caught up into linear thinking, but for lack of a better symbol, we'll use this, but see this as circular, because once you get one taken care of, then we start over with something else. Okay. So then we move into praying for others, which is still, they consider this a lower form of prayer, but it's an improvement. We're praying for somebody else. Okay. We're still limiting our prayers to the laws of this world. Because in this world, we see things, oh man, this was my whole life. We see things as unfair. Okay. And if we see things as unfair, we're praying for the willingness to see it differently, but we still are in the linear world attempting to communicate with God. And God can't even hear that. Holy Spirit can, because Holy Spirit is our our little comforter in between God and the ego, that can at least see both worlds and attempt to guide us through our mind to a more productive way of being in the vertical. So if you're praying for others, you're still projecting that there are others. You don't see them as, I'll say it, I don't see them as part of me. And that's why I pray for them so that they can see clearer and my life will work easier. I mean, that's really, I'm just looking at the way I have prayed through this lifetime. If you believe you have enemies, you have still limited prayer to the laws of this world and have also limited your ability to receive and to accept the same narrow margins. So praying for others is, we're praying from a very separated self. And separation is never good for a holy son of God. Separation will keep us trapped in the horizontal, in the world that appears real. So at some point, and this is where, forgiveness, to forgive is to overlook, okay? So forgiveness is this process, and the only one we can forgive is ourselves. We forgive ourselves for seeing separation. Okay. And that's a worthwhile prayer, to forgive ourselves for seeing separate, for seeing any separation. And then it moves on, and this last level of prayer is lofty, but I have gotten there periodically, and it's quite nice. And that's for really, it's actually to see all of us are one. I can't get there without you getting there. I can't get there while I see someone is at a lesser state than I am, because that moves me right back down to the lowest form of prayer. The lowest form of prayer in that instance would be, I'm not seeing everyone as one. And the truth be known, I probably don't even have a desire to see everyone as one. So it's really kind of starting at the bottom of the ladder again. But if you go back up to the top, after working through Holy Spirit, help me see this differently, pulling back the projection that there are others out there, because they're not. They're just our projections. I know the last Zoom we talked about, there's only two ways of being: projection or extension, and they can't be done at the same time. Projection is, there's an out there. There are people out there. There are people out there doing things that are creating, difficulty in my life. That's projection. Extension is kind of goes hand in hand with this highest level of prayer, which is extension. Extension is love, only love. There's no me in love. There's just love. And it's praying to our Creator with gratitude for just our ability to exist, to be. And Jesus takes it further, to be happy. We have gratitude for our ability to be happy. It's true communion with God. And with that true communion of God is to see that I can't get to that level of communion with God unless I see all of us there together all the time. And if I'm making any separation in this one, I've, might as well start back at the lowest level and see, what am I fearing? Okay. If I don't see all of us as one, what am I fearing? And I'm just starting to work with this as I read the Song of Prayer. So I don't have any answers. I just, I'm looking at this for myself going, what am I fearing? If I don't see all of us at this as me and as pure love and as only extensions from God of love. And there's a fear, if I can't do this all the time, then there's a fear still. And the fear, just some of them, just to be completely transparent. The fear that someone's going to get there before me, that I'm not going to get there. That, and again, I go back into, I'm flawed. I'm not capable of seeing all of us as one. These are just some of mine that have come up while reading the Song of Prayer. But I really feel it's this level of honesty that we've been really looking at lately. I know for those of you on YouTube, we didn't do a Zoom the last session because we really spent it going into, everyone's going very deep in the Zoom. And that's why we turn off the recording when we're doing that, because it's a very deep session and it's to be honored. And I don't feel like we need to just display that for everybody because everyone's doing their own work. It's all individuated and it's profound. It's profound. And so with this Zoom group, the Zoom group is really, like the visual I have of it is we're all going to the edge of the cliff with whatever it is that we are having a hard time being with. And, that could be that someone's going to get there before me, or I'm not good enough and I'm broken, all my favorites. But it's at the edge of the cliff and it's being willing to jump with whatever it is. And it usually involves me really being courageous and with the utmost willingness to really see as God sees, which is extending only love, because that's all there is. That's really, we have two choices. We're either projecting, which is an ego trait, or we're extending only love. And the extending only love is not to be seen as simple or trifling. It's very deep because I have to love myself enough and have no fears to extend that with only love as the true communion with God that we're really attempting to do here. So God is asking one gift and only one gift: to give all our feelings of need over to the power of love. Because really we have no needs, but we come into this world with many, needs. And the gift that God is asking of us is to give all our feelings. This is a gift to God, to give all our feelings over to God and ask for a reinterpretation. And that's, really it's a down and dirty prayer. And I came on it based out of need. I needed something quick, which has helped me see this differently. But the reality is, it's just a lesson I would learn. I need to just embrace the lesson and return myself to the true communication device that I am, which is love it. Just love it. Don't fear it. Don't fight it. Just love it. Yeah. And then you forget about everything, all those needs, and again, this is definitely when you're communing with God, you don't even think about needs at that level. It's probably more middle level, that we forget about all that we see we are needing, except for the desire to experience the love of God, which is that single desire that usually is not single. It's usually, I want the car and I want the desire for the peace of God. And it's really to really catch ourselves when we're landing in that dualistic part of our minds, that we're not a single desire. We have a dualistic desire. And then getting it back onto, okay, I don't need the car. I turn that over. But I do need the desire for the peace of God. Okay. Okay. So with that said, oh, there's so much that I could say on this. I think that's enough for right now. Just look at your state of prayer, because all thoughts are prayers. Every single thought is a prayer. And this goes into my saying, I don't want to get one thought away from God. When I have that one thought of, this isn't right, there's something wrong here. Doesn't matter what it is, there's something wrong here. That's one thought away from God. And I try not to get any more than one thought away from God, because it just takes you into a bad neighborhood and your chances of suffering are really great. So with that one thought, there's something wrong here. There's something wrong with me. It's to just jump back and go, Holy Spirit, help me. Help me see this differently. Help me, show me how to move through this as quickly as possible, whatever that is. But you need help at that point. If you've gotten one thought away from God, you're needing assistance, okay? Quit being your own teacher. You can't do it. You need help. And Holy Spirit is right there, but really requires that we ask for help. Because, and I'll speak for myself, I have been bent on doing it myself this whole lifetime. I can do that. I know how to do that. Then I get more educated to prove that I can do this myself. And that never helped me. I had to let go of all of that. All of my educated mind was not helpful. In fact, if anything, it kept me more in the dark and feeling like I know this instead of I know nothing. Okay. Okay. I don't want to get too far because this could move into a whole new topic quite quickly. So with that being said, we're going to say goodbye to all our YouTube people. Goodbye, YouTube people. Have a great moment. Whoops. That's not what I want. Hang on.